Jay Mullen, thank you for joining me. And I know you're a first-year student at Frost. Tell us about your course. What are you taking?
I'm an urban forestry tech, and I started actually a year and a half ago. I started in the certificate program, and once I got going, I really liked it, and so I switched to the 2-year program. I started as a mature student, so at 48 I was concerned about going to school, how I would fit in, what it would be like, and I found it was great. Everybody was really open and accepting, so yeah, I switched.
Why did you pick Fleming? I have to ask. I want to know all the good stuff.
I was out walking with my dog, and we were out in the woods, and I just said, this is where I like to be. And the pandemic had come. My job was, I was laid off. I didn't know if I'd ever be called back. I didn't know if my company would even make it through the pandemic. And I think the serenity of being out there was just, that was a big thing for me, and just enjoying that. I have anxiety, and so that was just a place where I felt calm. And so I went home and I typed in Forest Ranger, and up popped Fleming, and
that's great. Well, Frost Campus is very special. It's, you know, it is all about outdoors and the environment, and I think it's a very cohesive place, but your course is very hands-on. How did that feel when you were not able to be in person through some of the pandemic?
At first, I was actually quite intrigued by that because I didn't really want to be around people. And so that was a good opportunity for me to get into school and get an education without having to actually be around others. And once we started getting into class, I started to feel more comfortable, and that's where it really started to change for me. And so now, you know, it's nice to be there sometimes, and it's nice for some classes to be at home. I kind of like both.
And there will be lots of hybrid courses offered by Fleming, so that's really good to hear. And in terms of some of the challenging days, when you did, were they when you had to come in, or were they when you were at home? What were some of the challenges that you faced in trying to get through your course?
Probably the biggest challenge for me was just getting out and being around people. And with my anxiety, I had become very much a home person. I didn't go out much. I had over several years had lost all my friends. I had been attacked in my taxi in June 12th, 2012. And so I had been quite severely injured in that. And after that, I just started having anxiety attacks every day. And so this went on continuously for 3,414 days. Every day I had an anxiety attack. So when I got to Fleming, I was still going through this on a regular basis. So I didn't want to go to class. I didn't want to be around people. Here I was, a 49-year-old man, and literally cried every day. So this, you know, in a world where you're growing up with toxic masculinity, you're growing up with, you know, real men don't cry and they don't eat quiche, this is not something you want people to see. So when I finally got to school, I had one of my professors, she noticed something was up, and she recommended I talk to somebody. So finally, after all that time, I went out and talked to somebody, and gradually I started getting medicated and counseling, and started to be able to work through these things and move from mental illness to mental wellness to a place where I was functioning. And so after all that time, I hit that point where finally everything's just started kicking in. I stopped having the anxiety attacks. And so that's been probably 4 or 5 months since I've had an anxiety attack. So for me, coming to school was, at first was scary. Would I fit in at 49 years old? I'm older than most of my professors and all my classmates, so it's unusual, but you know, everybody loves me.
That's a remarkable story, and it's good to know that Fleming faculty were there for you. Did you access other supports from the college, or what advice do you have for me in making sure people like you get the support you need at the college?
I think people need to know that it's there. For me, I found out from faculty, and so I've been able to access the mental health counseling, the academic supports like AES, accessible education, the technology. I've had learning strategies. So there's been a lot of different things, and there's a ton of things that the school offers. And so those things are great. People can reach out for them and they can get the help. After I went through everything I went through, and I thought, nobody needs to go through this. It's crazy to live like that, to live over 9 years like that. And so now I'm able to give back. So I've become an AES peer mentor. I do some tutoring. I'm program president. So I like to be able to give back. And part of that is being able to let these people know. The peer mentoring is a great way to let them know. We have the drop-in cafes. So yeah, I think it's just people knowing about these things and then being able to access them. That's the important thing.
Yeah, well that's great advice. We need to get that word out there, and anxiety manifests itself in so many different ways, and it sounds like your story's remarkable that you were able to overcome and that Fleming had a little bit of something to do with that. Is there anything you'd do differently at Fleming as a student?
I probably would have just signed up for the 2-year program right away. I mean, that would have been probably the only thing I would have done differently. I've loved every minute of it. I enjoy it. I enjoy the learning and the opportunities that are there. I don't think people realize when they look at coming to college how much opens up for you. You often go in with this narrow focus of, I'm going to do this course and at the end I'm hopefully going to be this. And when you get started, there's so much more there.
Well, listen, Jay, as just maybe a final thought, what advice would you give to your student colleagues? Having been through this pandemic, having been on quite a journey, what advice do you have for your student colleagues?
I would say keep trying, even when it's difficult. And when you don't know what to do, there's somebody to talk to. Talk to somebody. I picked up the phone and called a friend from high school from 35 years ago, and he answered me and said, you can go to college. Like, you can do it. So people you'd be surprised at how many people will say yes, have something to say, will be willing to help. I think people with mental health issues, they think that nobody will listen, or that there's a stigma that, if somebody finds out how I'm feeling, there'll be some sort of shameful thoughts towards them. And most people aren't like that. I mean, you might run into the odd one, but most people are going to be pretty supportive and try and help.
Yeah, well, I think lots of us have felt some level of anxiety through this pandemic. I know I personally have, and your stories are those that inspire. So thank you so much for being here, Jay. Jay Mullen, a student at Frost. Thank you.
You're welcome.